Hey, everybody, we're live, and I hope you're well. I'm really, from the bottom of my heart, excited that my longtime friend Mitch Adams is on this show right now. This man, I go back at least to 1993. Think about that. Further, okay. Ooh,
Probably.
yeah, because I started working for the city in '87, and then I saw you. Wow, even before that. Wow.
Yeah.
Care to try for '85?
Probably somewhere in that
Yeah,
neighborhood.
a generation.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. That's legendary status. So I'm with a true Raider legend because he worked in the building and has been around the Raiders in so many different ways and done so many great things with the Raiders and with remember the Oakland Football Marketing Association
Yeah.
and all those great folks. And so, man, I'm just pleased as much that you're here to talk about some great people that we knew. Mitch, tell everybody how you got started with the Raiders.
Well, Zinni, thank you for having me first and foremost. Uh, for years, I would write letters to the Raiders in the late 90s. I was in grad school. In fact, I was finishing my undergrad because I decided to go back to school. And then I was finishing my undergrad. Then I went to the University of San Francisco to get my master's in sports management. And in that time, the late 90s, early 2000s, I would write letters to the Raiders I think it was like every month. Al Davis, Bruce Allen, and Morris Bradshaw. And I would write all these letters in hopes that somebody would one day say, this guy is persistent. I don't know why. I'd run into Mickey Marvin one day
Mickey Marvin,
at
yeah,
the Hilton,
guard.
and I said I would love to work for the team. He said Al Davis. He said this guy used to write letters, and Al Davis finally answered it and hired him. He said you should do the same thing. Dang,
Ding, yeah,
yeah. And I just remember, so I used to write letters, and
yeah.
I shared that with Mickey when I saw him maybe like 10 years later. That it was because of his sharing that story with me that's how I got in the building. And so I would write letters, and a friend of ours, I think it's a mutual friend, Monica Stevens,
Oh, I remember
said,
Monica.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a blast from the past.
She said, why don't you call? Call? She said, what do you have to lose? She said, either you're in the same place you are now, not working there, or get you a step closer. And so I called and asked for Al Davis, and they transferred me. I said, holy smokes. And I think it was Cheryl Nichols, rest her soul.
Rest her soul. She just passed away a few weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to transfer you down to Morris Bradshaw.
Big Mo.
She said, I think you'd be better suited starting there. And this was in 1999. And Morris invited me in September of 99 to sit with him. And he said, why do you want to work here? I said, it's always been a dream of mine. I said, listen, I'm entering a graduate program at USF, and part of the program requires that I do an internship with a sports related entity, and I choose the Raiders. He said, are you in the program now? I said, I don't start until January. He said, well, why are you here now? I said, I'm trying to beat the competition. And so he said, stay in touch with me. He said, I can't use you now. He said, but stay in touch with me and I'll bring you in after the draft. And sure enough, true to his word, that's what happened.
Wow.
And from that September of 99 through his passing early this year, he was my mentor. And it was just truly a godsend that someone would fall into my lap that not only brought me into the fold, but taught me so many life lessons. And that's how I got a chance to meet all these other Raiders and people affiliated with the Raiders through Morris. And in fact, his birthday was yesterday.
Yes.
And
yes.
shared some kind words with his wife Debbie yesterday, and it was good. It was good. So that's how I got in there, through Morris Bradshaw and through some of my persistence.
What do you remember about Carol Davis? Because what I remember is, I never directly met her. We were in the same room. The first time I met Al was when the Raiders came back to Oakland, and I was invited thanks to the late George Atkinson. Remember, he was head of the
Yeah,
Coliseum,
Coliseum.
right, Coliseum board president, and we were in this big table, and Monty Poole was sitting there. It was reporters. Monty Poole over there. I think Frank Cooney was over here, and I was here there, and we were in that area between the stadium and the arena. And Al was talking about the move and needing to get back to the Raider. That was another term he used other than DNA, but it was the same thing. And he felt that it was in Oakland, that the roots. That's what it was. Raider roots. And he talked a lot about that.
And it's still here.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, still in Oakland. Even who knows? In fact, who said that to me? Mark. Mark said the same thing to me, Mitch, in Atlanta a year ago at the fall NFL owners meeting. He said it, just not even thinking about it. It wasn't like before a crowd or anything. It was us talking, right? And so that he knows.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, that it would have been great to be able to work it out in Oakland, and I think he'll be the first person to say that.
Yeah,
as much money as he's making now, but there's that.
Well, then there's that, yes, which kind of eases the lack of attendance, lack of true passion, that you get here. But then you don't make the money here because the city of Oakland, the county of Alameda, never saw fit to follow through on their promise of bringing the Raiders back to build a stadium. And then we can blame Jerry Brown for the first domino falling in the wrong direction. That caused all of this to unravel. And had they just put the Warriors downtown Oakland in the early 90s or early to mid 90s, the A's would have followed. And then the Raiders would have had the entire Coliseum complex. Playing golf with former city manager Robert Bobb, he said, we messed up. And he did not use those words. He used something a little stronger.
I know, yeah. I work for Mr. Bobb.
He said, we should have put the Warriors downtown. He said, but we took the cheap way out, gutted the old arena. They played in San Jose for 1 or 2 seasons. And then they came back with the new inside the old shell, which was nice, but it didn't hold its newness long enough. Hence the need for a new one. But had they gone downtown, the A's would have followed, but Jerry Brown nixed the A's going downtown because he had already promised 20 at the Telegraph to his developer friends. Not thinking
Susan Smart. Yeah, in fact, Mitch, on the other side of that, Jerry stole that project from me. That was supposed to be the Times Square of the West. I made a pitch to get Forest City to come to Oakland. And then Greg Vilken, who worked for Forest City, and Susan Smart, who had the connection with Jerry Brown, talked with him. Jerry promised them a $70 million guaranteed profit to go down there, and stole my project right out from under me.
And by him ignoring the A's coming downtown and the Warriors being downtown where the Ask.com building was, the old hole, which would have been catty corner to their training facility, would have transformed downtown Oakland.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was in Sacramento, and their stadium downtown is amazing with all that they've built around it. And that's Sacramento. Can you imagine 2 professional teams in downtown Oakland, and then the Raiders would have had the entire Coliseum complex? So all of that, the first domino to fall the wrong way was around maybe 93, 94.
And Mitch, tell me something. If that had happened, would we be talking about a Oakland downtown that was decimated from remote work because people were living down there going to basketball games, right?
Oakland would be thriving.
Oh
my goodness. Every city that has taken a downtown or just not even a downtown, but just a new ballpark and the things that are built around it. Take Denver, for example, with the baseball team. That was an old warehouse district decimated, almost like the Giants' old Pac Bell, which is now Oracle Park.
Yep.
Do you remember going
Yeah,
down
absolutely.
there?
Yeah. Absolutely.
There
Yep.
was nothing there.
No. The King's.
Now it's like a brand new city over there. There's so much going on, and which was a natural move for the Warriors to move right over there
Yeah, I
because
used to work down there off King Street in the building across the way where it was you would want to. They told you don't walk under there at night because at that time the Embarcadero Freeway went over, and of course that was before the Lone Period earthquake and
yeah.
the whole thing came down, right? But and I think Doug, I forgot Doug's last name. He was a big real estate guy, but he managed to convince the city to do a redevelopment area down there, and it is as you say it now. They call it South Beach, and it's all these great places like Gordon
all,
Beach and all that stuff. So yeah,
but all that would have been in Oakland.
Yeah, in Oakland.
In Oakland.
In Oakland.
And it just goes back to mismanagement with politicians, not really understanding what a professional sports franchise brings to the community.
And not only that, Mitch, what got me is the number of times I felt that I'm not going to name names, but it's sometimes it seems like they wanted to be as big as the Raiders, right? As opposed to how other cities treat sports organizations. Hey, this is a business we want in our city, so we're going to write these glowing letters and we're going to roll out the red carpet and all that. But with us and Oakland and the Raiders, it was like, huh, what? Then we wonder what happened.
Well, because when the name Al Davis was ever uttered in this city, people always took offense to it.
Yeah.
And when the NFL challenged him in the early 80s to leave, why don't you just leave? And they told the city, don't do anything because he can't. And he called their bluff and he left. And he knew, and all of that is it's a sore subject when people ask me, man, what happened? I said, politicians happened.
Yeah. And to this day, I miss one thing that George Atkinson and I used to talk about all the time. I mean, even after, and he loves Vegas, George does. But he loves Oakland more. And he'll tell you, he says, Zinni, we messed up and they messed up. But on the matter of George, one of my favorite subjects, we talking about this on the phone. George was arguably one of the toughest players in NFL history. Am I lying?
Oh, no. Tough. He comes into the Raiders. He's a punt returner. And then, as time progresses, he teams up with the Soul Patrol, Jack Tatum, Skip Thomas, and Willie Brown. I mean, those guys all brought something different to the table, but collectively, you did not want to face those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a fearsome force.
My mom says there was something else because she's, my mom knew Otis Sistrunk.
Yes, she mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely. So she was really.
I think his autographed football he gave me in 1975 is around here somewhere.
Oh yeah, you got a shrine there, man. Look at that back there.
A little bit of stuff, and I've got so much more that was just given to me over the years from the players and what have you.
And you took care of it too. You really, that's something else. Yeah,
not the football from 1975. I didn't take great care of that one, and I'm embarrassed. To say it. Oh, so mad at myself.
Would you lose it in the park playing?
No, I still have it. But
okay, he's around something. Yeah, George. George and I were Raider Red judges. Ever say that?
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I'm okay. How I became a Red judge is after the Raiders came back. I came to our local Sal, and Mr. Local Sal said, long story short, Zinni, would you like to be a Red judge? Long answer, yes.
Yes.
And I had a tendency to favor women who were tall and athletic looking. And the rule is that you want a Raiderette who has a smile that you can see from the third deck, right? But they had a tendency to pick them petite. And so every time someone would come along, and I have to say one thing that really blew me away was the number of lawyers and paralegals and med school students that came through who wanted to be Raiderettes. Okay, they wanted to be Raiderettes. I was blown away. But this one young lady came through, and she had to be almost 6 feet. And George turned right around, and he goes, "I know you picked her." And I said, "Yes, I did."
Oh my goodness!
We had so much fun. It was a blast because the Raiderettes were then and still are now a representative of Raider culture. And I know some people may be thinking about legal issues, but you know what? I applaud the team for handling it well. I applaud Mark for making sure they got the money they deserved.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah,
If you've taken a tour of the stadium, Allegiant Stadium, they have their own dressing room now, which is just for them. Whereas at the Coliseum, which is why people are torn between being in Vegas or being in Oakland. Well, everything is brand new in Vegas and every state of the art. They have their own facility. I mean, dressing facilities. Whereas at the Coliseum in Oakland, sometimes had to change
women's bathroom.
Have to change behind a curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple of times one of them had to go to the bathroom up on public level. I remember that. It's like, but and to the credit of the fans, nobody gave me any problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody was extremely respectful, and so it says a lot about our fans there. I have not yet been to Allegiant Stadium. Not that I've been avoiding it; it's just a matter of time. I was there for the Super Bowl.
It's beautiful.
Because I'm NFL media now, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't been there for a Raiders game.
Yeah, it's quite the venue, and Mark is making money hand over fist because not only are Raider games played, but there are any number of concerts. UNLV was the Pac-10, Pac-12's playoff games.
Yeah.
Super Bowl. I'm sure there'll be some other college playoff events and or maybe the Big Ten plays the game. Perhaps I'm not quite sure, but
they were trying to get the Pac-12 championship when the Pac-12 wasn't around.
Yeah.
And
it's quite the venue.
Yeah, it is something else. Did you hear about what Sandra Douglas Morgan wants to do now? A $7 billion new plan to basically upgrade Allegiant Stadium and then build this. I'm gonna call it the Raiders Village around it. Yeah,
they need more around it because the disappointing thing about going to games there is where's the parking lot?
Right.
I mean, when you came to Oakland for games, you made sure you got there 2 hours before the game just to walk the lot. And I remember the last game they played in Oakland. There was a guy in front of me, and I'm making sure I hit all of the tailgates that I knew of. And he says, "Oh my God," he says, "this is my first time here, and I live less than 10 blocks away." He said, "People have told me about this, and I never wanted to be here because I wasn't a football fan." He said, "But," he says, "in my eyes, this is worth the price of admission just walking through the parking lot."
Yeah.
And people were so friendly. "Hey, you hungry? You want a beer? You want?" I used to take when I produced the Legend show.
Yes.
I would take the guys, put them in golf carts after the show, and we would drive to different tailgates that I knew they would feed the guys, the guys would drink, and in exchange, they would do a few autographs. So they expected me to bring the guys there, and people knew that we would be coming. And it was just, the parking lot was just a whole different experience. And some of the guys that did the show for the first time, they were like, "Oh my God, this was better than being in front of the fans in the stadium." He said, "We're getting the real silver and black, or it's like they call it the black hole fans out here on the lot." And it was always just a great experience for the former guys to come back to town and be able to do that.
Hey, can we still catch the Legend show online anywhere?
No, I don't know if the team is still doing it. When I came on board and during the 2000 season, OFMA was Oakland Football Marketing Association was heading out, and the Raiders were taking over, which was the best move, tickets and all of that. I don't know why they put the wedge between the Raiders and the fans. I think everybody wanted to get a little bit of money. And OFMA it was just kind of a blocker. But they had the show. I think Vernon Glenn might have been the host or something. We took it over. I remember Morris called George and said, "Would you be willing to host this show?" And so here I am, the new guy on the block, and I get to work with George Atkinson every week.
Who was that?
Not only get to work with George, but all of these players that we brought in every week to participate. And these guys, I'll share a training camp story, but I went from being someone like, oh my God, that's Tim Brown, or that's Fred Litnikoff, or that's Jim Otto, or Marv Hubbard, or Otis Sistrunk, or Jeff Barnes. I mean, it was just a guy that grew up idolizing these guys. And all of a sudden, I'm working with them.
Yeah.
One day I get a call. Rod Martin said, "Hey, man, we're over here at Ricky's. Where are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean, where am I?" He said, "Get your blah 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 over here, so we can get this party started." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And then I get a call from Charlie Smith one day. "Hey, Mitch, we need a fourth for golf. Are you available?" "Yes." Carlton Oates calls. "Hey, Mitch, we come up. We need somebody for golf." and this goes on for years.
So wait, who's the best golfer? I gotta ask. Who is the best golfer? I don't want to get you in trouble.
Of course, me.
There you go.
Those guys. It was. I don't even know if I could.
Hey, Mom, he's modest. Huh?
I was just so happy. No, I'll tell you who's, in my opinion, Mervin Fernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mervin plays. Yeah. Mervin's good.
Yeah. Robert Bob's a good golfer too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I played with him, but I was so busy with this conversation about them messing up. I don't even hardly remember. I just remember the conversation.
He's got a heck of a drive.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah. So something else. Okay.
Yeah. George was a great golfer. Yeah, George could play. Oh man, George could play. So I'll share two stories. So I go up to training camp, first time at training camp as someone working there. And Mo and I, we've got this Morris Bradshaw and I have all the sponsors on the sideline. And I mean, the sideline is here and the players are here. I mean, you could reach out and touch them almost. And I'm standing there and Mo elbows me and says, "Close your mouth." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Close your mouth." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Act like you've been here before." I'm like, "What?" He said, "You're acting like a fan." He said, "I can't have you acting like a fan." I said, "But there's Rich Gannon. There's Tim Brown. There's Charles Woodson. There's Jerry. Was Jerry there? Jerry might have been there." And I'm losing. I'm like, it was. So I close it. And so the next day, I'm more composed, but I'm still giddy on the inside. And it was the hardest thing to do initially, to not get excited. And then 10 times there, standing in the hot sun, it's like, okay, this is not as exciting as I thought it would be. And so then the allure of training camp kind of wore off, although it was still fun to go.
Yeah.
And so then back to the golf course. Here's another story that first year with the Raiders. Jack Tatum was there. And I have a twin brother. My twin is like, "Hey, Jack, my brother's interning for the team, blah, blah, blah. He's on the way up here." And so my brother shared his kids My brother had the 43 jersey, so he was always George, and I had a 32 jersey, and I was always Jack.
Right, Jack
And
Tatum.
so I get there, and my brother's like, "Hey, Jack, here's my brother," and I shook his hand, but he was still an intimidating figure based on his lore and the way he looked. He was menacing, and I was intimidated, but I was so happy to meet him because that was my first time.
Yeah.
I met him, and I told him I was working with Mo. He said, well, hopefully we get a chance to work together. And over the course of the years, we became great friends. In fact, he signed 2 things to me that are down here in my little room that say to my friend Mitch. And Jack was on the tee box, and he tees off, and he slices it out of bounds. And my brother yells, "Now you see why I was always George." Jack turned around and looked at us, and he was pissed. And the look in his eye was like, and I was like, and so I go to training camp the next day, and I share this with Morris. And I mean, he laughed and laughed and laughed. He said, "You have to tell George." I said, "I don't want to." I said, "Because if I tell George, he's going to tell Jack." And then
No, you want to see Jack.
I don't want to see Jack.
You're expecting a forearm shiver.
So reluctantly, I share the story with George, and he laughs. Oh, he said, "Oh my God, this is so funny." He said, "Wait till I tell Jack." I said, "You can't tell Jack." He said, "Well, I'm telling Jack." Then I finally have Jack on the show, and I apologize immediately when I see him. I have to apologize for my brother for running his mouth. And Jack was like, he said, "Man, that's no big deal." I said, I had to make sure. And then as time went on, Jack and I became really, really good friends. Oh man. In fact, Jack was with me, or I was with Jack, let's put it in context, when I got to meet my other idol that wore 32, Magic Johnson, while he was at the stadium.
Okay.
He sees Jack, and he went into full Magic. He was like, "Ooh." He said, "Man, my dad loved you." And of course, Jack was, gracious and shook his hand. Of course, I had to reach my hand out too to meet my other favorite 32. So a lot of good things happened because of the Raiders. But my relationship with George, man, it went beyond just doing things with the Raiders. My nephew, my cousin's son. That's why I think of him as a nephew. Was playing high school football at the same time George's boys were playing, and I asked if I could bring him over for some tutelage, and George said, "Man, bring him to the house." And so I had totally forgotten about that until I put that post on that George had passed away, and my younger cousin wrote my condolences. And when I saw his name, I'm like, holy crap, I took him to George's house to train with George and his sons. And as I'm saying it, he's writing a post actually saying that as well. And yeah, it was. And he said, "Man," he said, "I want to thank you." He said, "Because the life lessons that I learned from George, just in those few times that I interacted with him, I used them on the field, and I was able to use them beyond the college football that I played and apply them to life."
What were some of those lessons, so you could share?
I don't. He didn't share them. He just said life lessons that he learned from George, that he was able to apply while he played college football and in his life after college football.
I think one thing I got from hanging out with George, and for me, it was first representing LSU, and after the Raiders returned, and then getting to know folks. What happened was that, I don't think I ever told this story, but the way I got the job was kind of weird. I wrote a post saying that Michael Baines, you remember Michael Baines?
Not
Baines
familiar.
and Robertson, he was a builder.
Okay.
I'm surprised you guys have personalities that are so much alike, but he's crazy. I mean,
Well,
like
there's
crazy,
where we differ.
and a crazy in a good way. I mean, you'd love. No, I mean, you'd love. He's this guy is part of the Oakland fabric. But anyway, Baines, I thought Mike got the contract to build Oakland housing, and so I was writing for the Montclarian at the time, and this is in '94, and so I wrote that. I was invited to a party thrown by a group raising money for Wellington Webb. It was a Democratic group, and somehow they saw fit to invite me. Well, I don't know, because I'm a columnist in Montclarian. I don't know. So I went, and weird place. You go down Mission Street in San Francisco past 18th. Then about 6 of these tunnels down. You have these tunnels that are, you go in and where you're parking behind the apartments there and all that. Turned in there, and it was a tunnel that led out to a forest of weeping willows. And my first reaction was, weeping willows grow in the Bay Area? What the blank is this? And the driveway goes about a quarter mile, and then it clears, and there is this 18th century antebellum Southern mansion in the middle of the freaking thing. And that's Bob Pritkin's house.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yeah. So I walk in, and I wasn't wearing a suit. At first, I was underdressed. What was going through my mind in those days? I don't know. But at any rate, Elihu, the mayor, was there. And Elihu says, "You can apologize for that column. You wrote that column. Why'd you write that? Why'd you write that?" He was like, I thought Elihu was going to hit me. And I didn't know it was, I'm serious. And people are gathering around, and it was like they might as well have done everything except fight. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I can't hit him, but if he hit, I said, this was going through my mind. Okay. I'm thinking, if he hits me, I guess it's okay. But if I hit him, I know it's a felony. So right. I can't hit him. That's what's going through my mind, right? And he's yelling at, he's pointing his finger, getting up close and everything. And I just thought, I'm just gonna let this pass. And so it did. I mean, the cloud was pretty big. And so I was walking through the place, and I ran into Larry Reed, who was his chief of staff.
Yeah.
And I said to Larry, I don't know what's going on. He goes, well, 2 prominent African-American men shouldn't be arguing like that. And I'm thinking, my first thought was, prominent? What? What? Who, me? And I said, Larry, I think there's a big misunderstanding. So long story short, wound up in a meeting with Elihu. And that wasn't the first time I met with him. The first time I met with him was another one, and he was grilling me about something that I wrote. That was like 1991. And this was 1994. Okay. So anyway, he says, well, no, as a journalist, it's your job to get things right and everything. I said, first of all, there are 6 items of case law that back your right to pick anybody you want as developer. You can pick Mickey Mouse, and nobody can stop you. He didn't know that. He had no, right? And I said, look, I'm not a journalist. My background is in city planning. I got my master's from Berkeley. And when I said, I'd love to work with you. And so guess what? They said, that might be a good idea. Might be. And then might be turned into, yeah, that's a good idea. And so they came up with the title of economic advisor to the mayor. And so I was hired. I call it Pearl Harbor Day, because remember Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. Well, the day I was hired was December 7th of 1995. And so, yeah. And he said, you have everything from redevelopment to the Raiders. That's how it happened.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he had, no, he was a good man. He's a friend of this day, a true mentor. And he said, I'm going to teach you how not to throw bombs. Like, I was known for writing with these columns that throw bombs. And he taught me how to cultivate power, Mitch. Like little things, like walking into a room, like you're talking about what you learned, life lessons and everything. But he taught me how to cultivate power. And one thing for anybody watching, if you go into a place, go anywhere, make sure any town you're in, you know your council member and your mayor and the people that matter. Why? Because you might need to call on them when it matters the most. And I remember Elihu when we had the whole thing where the Oakland Army base closed. We were talking about disposition of the land, and Elihu said, "I want you to sit next to me." It's big. We were in a big meeting in the equally big mayor's office, large conference room. And he sat down there, and he said, "Sit to my right. And if you have anything to say, just write me a note or whisper in my ear, because that means you have what? You have the ear of the mayor." He was right, because he says what's going to happen is that he said what I was used to doing was, if I heard something in me I thought it was stupid, I would just say it was stupid. You know, it's not the way. It's like, that's dumb, right? You know, he says, and then we get back to Elihu, right? And Elihu says, "Not that you're wrong, Sonny, but you're making people who think they're smarter than you look like they're not, because they're not." So, all right. So he said, "Just whisper in my ear," and that changed my life. The ability, it's the imagery of power. When you're in a room of power, I learned that with anything. It matters with the NFL, with my relationship with people there. I'm not going to mention. It's who you know. It's not so much who you know, but who you choose to be close to.
Mm.
It's who you. Okay, that's what I learned. And with the Raiders, did I have that without? No, I didn't, because that was hierarchy. Like, for example, I was Alo Casal found me and said, "Okay, Zinni, I'm gonna give you a secret project," which I can talk about now, because he says, "All right, we want to bring back the 49er preseason game. We don't want it to look like it came from us." So Mr. Casal and I had lunch at Luigi's in Alameda every month for 6 months. Unfortunately, Luigi's on Park is closed, unfortunately. Sad stuff, man. But at any rate, he said, "I'm going to teach you all the NFL politics I know." He told me all kinds of stories about, like, Alice thought it was Mr. Abstention because always abstaining, and then Leonard Toes, who owned the Eagles. They always had to have this giant ass big chair shipped in wherever the owner's meeting was, because that's what Mr. Toes wanted. On and on and on and on and on. And he says, "There's a guy I want you to call, because they're grooming him to be commissioner. You need to talk with him about this preseason matter. His name is Roger Goodell." So Roger called me. He was on his way to Europe. He called me from the phone on the plane. And I was in my office in the 11th floor in City Hall. And it just so happened, Mitch, I had read a book called Shining America, stories about American elected officials, politicians, that sort of thing. One of the people I happened to read about was a guy named Charles Goodell, who happened to be Roger Goodell's father. Roger Goodell's father is the only Republican in history to have opposed the Vietnam War. He voted against it. He was the Barbara Lee of his time, but Republican. Okay. So when Roger and I started talking, our first 45 minutes had nothing to do with anything that I needed for Oakland or anything else. It was about his dad. And that's how I got to know Roger. So
Wow.
anybody, yeah. And so fast forward to when I was tapped to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. There's another long story I don't want to take up here, but it was all through that I got to know people, George and everybody else. And that the Raider thing came as sort of a bonus. And I got to know Jeff Buren, who was the lawyer, or their lawyer, rather. You know Jeff, good man. He's still with us, I think. But and then I met a guy in 1990. I met a guy a little later. That was 1995. But I remember 96. His name was Mark Bourdain.
Yep.
And I still have the media guide with his face in it. We had hair. And so that's where I came to know a lot of the people with the Raiders in a different way. I mean, they were really supporting when we were trying to go after the Super Bowl, even though they were saying one thing to the media. But like, I was on a plane on the way to my first Super Bowl in Atlanta here. They just had found that's whole. I have a shirt from that. That's now got to be worth some money. But anyway, I was sitting, and all of a sudden, somebody grabbed my head like that, and they pushed it back on the pillow, and they tucked it in, and it was Amy Trask. And I thought, "Hey, Amy." She goes, "Hi, Zenny. Are you having a good time?" I said, "Yeah." I said, I'm just taking care of you. I'm thinking, Amy Trask is taking care of me. Nice.
That's when things like that happen. That's when you know, I'm kind of in the inside now.
Yeah, yeah. And they were really, really great people. And I think what
Oh
makes
yeah,
me cry when I
yeah.
think about it, it's just how everybody, yourself, we're all one big family, man.
Well, you know, it was kind of a double-edged sword. When Morris passed away and his services were in early February, his wife Debbie asked me to speak at the services, and I did. And when I was done, first person, Jeff Barnes grabbed me and said, "Man," he said, "I didn't know you had that in you." And then here comes Mark Davis, and then because I followed Bruce Allen, and it was really weird for me to because it was the who's who for Raiders in this room at the Coliseum, and you know I knew 80-90% of them, and it felt like a reunion. And you know, as sad as it was for me to lose my mentor in Morris Bradshaw, it, I left there feeling good because of the relationships that I fostered having met him. All of the people in the room became somebody special to me through Morris. And so it was a bittersweet. It felt like a reunion. Oh my God, it was so good. I mean, Phil Villapiano walked in, and the first thing hey Mitch,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's just because Phil is, yeah,
yeah.
just
That's rated DNA right there.
oh my goodness,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah,
I
yeah.
I've got story. I do have to share this one because you're in Atlanta. So I'm at a game in Atlanta, and Phil has a suite, and so John Bell is in there with him, and he said, "Mitch, make sure you stop by." So I stop by, and I walk in, and he's like, "Hey everybody," because he talks with his hands. "Meet Al Davis's right hand man, Mitchell Adams," and I'm like, "What? Don't do that." And John said, "Just go with it." So everybody comes up and they greet me. So fast forward, the game is out of hand and people are leaving. And the game is almost over. Raiders lose. And a lot of people don't know, if you rent a suite, all of the alcohol that's not used goes back to the stadium.
Yeah.
So Phil stood up. "Where the F you think you're going? Nobody leaves until all this blah, blah, blah is gone." I kid you not. The stadium is empty. And security's going around checking doors. And the suite is full. And everyone is drunk. And he looked at the security, opened the door and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Get your F and A's in here and finish these last 2 beers so we can go home." And they drink the beers and let us out onto the field and out the exit through the end zone because everything else was locked. Oh my God. So yeah, I've had a great deal of fun, and through the Raiders, I got a chance to run programs with Pete Carroll down at USC during his
Oh
height
wow.
of the national championship era. And so, watching the team now with Pete there, and I remember the things that I did with him at USC, it's just, it just feels good, man, to know that for 16 seasons, and it's continued on because I still have a relationship with quite a few people there, that a kid in Oakland grew up and got a chance to work with the people that he idolized. And man, you talk about a dream come true. There was nothing better. I've had guys come to my birthday party, Christmas dinner, barbecues, and people are like, why are there so many Raiders here? I'm like, they're here for me.
Yeah, because you honored them. There's nothing wrong with you idolizing them because they love that. People love to be
but
memorialized.
But as time has gone on, I get invited to things, and it's because I'm part of the Raider family. And Ray Chester, we were in San Jose at another Fallen Raiders services.
Oh, Chester's friend.
And they said, "Can we get all the Raiders over here for a picture?" And I kind of stood back, and Ray looked at me and said, "What are you doing? I said, get in here." He said, "You're part of this family." And then put his arm around me and said, "Get in this picture." And I was like, wow, yeah, okay. Appreciate that, man. That was that validation. And all of those guys I was in New York, ran into George and Lincoln Kennedy. They were doing a signing. And I walked in the bar, and man, boom, their eyes light up. Mitch is here. I'm like, Mitch, who? And they're you. And Lincoln's, man, here's a cigar. I'll be outside in a minute to smoke a cigar. And man, it was just the way, just that warm reception that it's like, wow, man, these guys are truly friends now. It's like family.
I want to share something with you that I think you're going to get a kick out of. I ran into these two gentlemen, one of which in Reno, and I got to make sure the setting is on so you and everybody else can hear it. This is very random. It was my mom in Reno, and I happened to go downstairs and echo cancellation, and I found here's the video. I just played. It's only 3 minutes. It's not long. Conrad Dobler and Phil Villapiano, right here.
Phil Villapiano was a popular Oakland Raiders linebacker and one of the best in NFL history as well. Together, they do autograph sessions around the country. This one for Super Bowl 43 at a party in Reno. We talked about how the NFL treats retired players. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, two legends. First of all, Conrad Dobler.
Yeah, and I had just left Tampa, Florida for the Super Bowl 43, and I was with Mike Ditka, and we did a thing on Showtime about the Gridiron Greats, and we have an online auction going on right now called, you can always go to the online auction, gridirongreats.org. It's gridirongreats.org. We have a lot of great things to auction off, but you can also get on there and make a donation. Make a donation, we'll get you a t-shirt, a shirt, a lot of different things we got. You're helping out a lot of great players. We've done a lot throughout the communities and stuff. And since the NFL and the Players Association, they don't do their part, we're asking the fans, and we know that it's difficult times and stuff, give us a little helping hand while we're beating their butts in court.
Phil Villapiano, great Oakland Raider linebacker. Also, what do you think about the matter of how the NFL should take better care of retired players, really? Yeah.
Right, I'm very happy to tell you that 3 weeks ago, I just got a brand new knee. Conrad's got 4 of them. My knee is doing pretty good. But I did not know this. No, the NFL did not pay for it. But at least there was a number I could call New York City, and they're going to try and help me out with, like, something. So there is a little bit of money there, and I mean, it's crazy. I have paid, I have to go back in for my 7th knee replacement. And 7. And
nobody should be able. Nobody should be able to do that.
And I have paid more in insurance costs in the 25 years since the co-payments and what I've owed to hospitals than I was paid by the NFL in 10 years.
The other thing that bothers me too, and it came out kind of in court, is that your likeness is used on computer games. Do you guys see any of that money at all?
Yeah, we didn't get any of it. In fact, to tell you the truth, Players Incorporated, the union, takes 69% of the income as a commission. Now, if you had an agent, and I had an agent that took 69% of my income, would he be an agent?
No,
hell no.
No.
Gene Upshaw made the statement that I could have the best dog food in the world, but if I can't sell it, what good is it? Well, I'm a salesman. Phil's a salesman. And if we had the best product in the world, and the guy couldn't sell it, I guess I'd have to find a new salesman, wouldn't I?
I would think so. Yeah, that whole thing was just
totally mishandled. Gene Upshaw, old friend, old teammate of mine. I can't believe what's happened. My son used to say, Dad, I'm you. I'm you. I used to make me happy. He was me on the video games. Did I get a penny? No. But we paid $50, $75 for the game. So anyway, I think it's, everything.
I'm going to stop right there because, Mitch, we need to get that guy in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
His starter pushed hard. Got the fight on Facebook. Phil Villapiano Hall of Fame.
Yeah. We definitely got to make the end. And Ray Chester, too.
Character. Oh, Raymond.
Yeah. I mean, we got to do something. We're doing it now. We're talking about it. We got to keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. It's easy to bring the guy on, let them be their own man.
Yeah. We got to get Phil on. I know Phil's mad at me, though. He's mad. He's mad at me because I, like a number of other people initially, were, we were vocally opposed to the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. I mean, that's just, and hey, we were.
Yeah,
but I acknowledge how great it has been for the Raiders. Bottom line,
one of the most recognizable logos in sports should not be playing. Even though I wish they were still here, but they need to be in the palace.
Yes.
They need to be making the money. The value needs to be where it is. It was never going to happen here. Poor management.
Amen. And true words have never been spoken about that. We have to take care. I mean, if they're legends, the legends should be taken care of like of legends.
Well, thank God there are new programs in place that I think teams now are able to take care of players that played for them, not just through the pension that the NFL has for teams.
Yeah. Now, I know Mark's done a great job.
Yeah. And well, even when it wasn't in vogue, Al took care of many players with not looking for any fanfare. It's just, this is what I do for my guys. Because to see some of the guys, I've worked with some, and no names mentioned, but it was like, oh my God, how did this happen? Mm-hmm. Why are you looking the way you look? And it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Then there were others that do extremely well for themselves, but they did things better off the field as far as setting themselves up. One in particular, Barry Sims, just something easy. He took his money that he earned in pro football and put it in the storage units and rents those out like you see everywhere. And he said, oh my God, he says those things. He said people always are renting a storage facility. He said now I'm on this one and this one. So he has a flow of income coming in beyond his playing days, and many guys don't know what to do beyond their playing days. As we know, the statistics of those that go broke right after they finish playing,
like Doug Martin, man.
Yeah, you've got many rookies. Well, maybe not now, not first rounders, but guys might be a free agent. They live paycheck to paycheck because they don't. I mean, we think they get paid a lot, but not for what they do.
No, and the NFL should take its billions and spread it better than it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
are king.
He asks, why do the Raiders have the biggest problem at drafting a top QB when every other team who picks high QBs and the ones they want, Sellers and Moore, will be the best QBs in the next draft? Well, we weren't really talking about that today, but I appreciate the question. Did you want to take that on, Mitch? Or
why do the Raiders have problems drafting quarterbacks? Well, over the years, the drafting of quarterbacks, when you have a Stabler and then you get a Plunkett off this scrap heap, and he just needed rest because he got beaten down. And then in New England as the Heisman Trophy winner, comes to San Francisco, sits a couple years, comes to Oakland, Pastorini's here in town, gets his leg broken against Kansas City. Art still breaks his leg. He comes in, and the rest is history. Then you draft Mark Wilson. And Mark wasn't bad. He just wasn't Stabler, and he wasn't Plunkett. After Mark Wilson, you had Rich Berline. Steve Berline, excuse me. Who I thought out of Notre Dame, who I thought was a great quarterback. But Al Davis wanted somebody with a bigger arm. He trades the best left tackle in the game, Jim Lachey, to Washington for Jay Schrader. Jay was okay. But again, we're not drafting these guys. We're picking them up as free agents. We drafted Marinovich.
Yeah.
Kind of a stretch. It's not so much that we missed on Marinovich, it's that Marinovich lived such a regimented life up until he got to college. And then he went crazy with the freedom and kind of went a little too far left. Who else did we draft? Then we got Rich Gannon.
Jamarcus. I was there when Jamarcus was.
We're going to get to that. Rich Gannon was here, and people don't realize how good he was.
True.
Because a lot of plays called, especially under Callahan, because people thought Callahan was calling these plays. Rich checked out of a lot of those plays and called audibles. And then we saw what happened when he got hurt. Rick Meyer came in and could not do what Rich Gannon did of calling out of the play. So he had to run the play given. And then we saw that didn't work so well. Yes, we drafted Jamarcus.
Mom, you okay?
Anyone in the position to draft number one in that draft would have taken him because he killed it at his pro day. He killed it at the combine. And there was no indication that he had a problem off the field. When the problem was shared, because they sent him home with CDs that were back then that you put in the computer and you do your game plan. And they sent him home with blank CDs. I hear, and they asked him, did he study last night? And he said yes. And they were like, he's not studying because there was nothing on those CDs. And so he let his outside world creep in. And who have we drafted at quarterback since then? No one in the first round. No. All of our draft picks have been lower level. Yep. You look at O'Connell, serviceable if he had weapons around him. And people are like, why didn't we take Shador? I don't know why anyone didn't take Shador. There was an axe to grind that the NFL had with the Sanders family, I assume, and they wanted to kind of put him in his place for whatever reason.
I think the problem, I don't want to steal your thunder because you're on a roll, but I'll just add to this. He's making a ton of money on NIL, and they didn't like his attitude at the combine. And as trite as it was, those are the reasons. They were trite, but to me,
it's childish. It's nothing less than childish. Men, these rich spoiled brats, not wanting to let's show him who's boss. We have an opportunity. I'm assuming the way this season is going to be in position to draft a quarterback in this draft. I don't know who was bubbled to the top yet. I see the guy at Vanderbilt is okay, but he's short. I'd want a taller quarterback. I was high on Jackson Dart last year. Look at what he has done for the Giants.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he and Scatterboo come in. Jackson Dart's infectious personality not only energized the offense, it energized the defense and the special teams and then the fans. And so you've got all this excitement. Then you got a rookie running back who's also exciting. Now you got two guys that have changed the culture and the enthusiasm that this team has had and the fans. And these guys are off and running. They were exciting again. They want to be there.
Right.
If we can find somebody in this upcoming draft, because I'm going to tell you, Geno has shown that he is not the answer. Geno could be serviceable if he stopped trying to be a hero, just hand the ball off or dump it off to Bauer, who's playing this week, by the way, or dump it off to a wide receiver that's open. Stop throwing into triple coverage. Stop throwing to a spot. These receivers are young. They might not have the know-how. Like, remember when we brought in Carson Palmer and he threw a bunch of interceptions and everybody's like, he stinks.
I remember.
No, he doesn't stink. The receivers are stopping their routes too soon, and he's throwing to a spot and they're expecting him to throw it to them. They have to get to the ball. And that's what an experienced receiver would do, knowing that he's throwing to a spot, and it's called throwing them open.
Right.
He was throwing them open, they're stopping, and then it gets picked off, and he looked bad.
My problem is with Chip Kelly. And
I
don't like his offensive design at all. And the reason is that, just very simply and succinctly, out of respect for your time, he takes the same offense he ran at Ohio State. He doesn't adjust it. He doesn't understand how to design an offense with respect to timing or space. He doesn't understand how to design receiver spacing to create an open receiver. He doesn't understand how to draw the patterns. I've drawn him plays for everybody, including John Gruden. I gave him a play in 2018 that was used by 5 different NFL teams. And I have a playbook that Dave Shaw at Stanford told Jason Cole he was going to use. So my point is that we let these offensive coordinators get off scot-free. We blame the players for their lousy designs all the time.
I hear you, and I thought the same thing earlier in the year. We're in what, week 7?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, that Chip Kelly may be over his head, but then I have to look at the personnel that we have up front. And if your offensive line does not open the holes for the running attack, because if you can run the ball, you'll be able to pass the ball, because it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. But if you can't open those holes, now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 12, 2nd and 15, 3rd and 18. You've got to pass. And these guys they're not seasoned enough. I don't want to say they're not good. They're not seasoned enough to be that formidable offensive line that we need. And that's where it all starts, up front. And if we can, because I wouldn't be mad if we if we drafted a big offensive lineman first round next year. I wouldn't be mad at it. Of course, I'd want a quarterback. Now, back to quarterback, we drafted Carr. We love Carr. Carr was actually an MVP trajectory in 2017 until he broke his leg, and after that he got a little skittish, and you could see it, and it rightfully so. I mean, that was a terrible break. So I don't know that we've drafted poorly when it comes to quarterbacks. We just haven't drafted that many quarterbacks.
Right.
But it all comes back to the offensive for this year. The offensive line, if they could get their act together, we could run the ball, which would open up the passing game. Because O'Connell passed the ball last year, and he shouldn't be
different offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but when you have Brock Broward hasn't been there for 3 games, I believe.
Yeah,
that hurts you as well, because for some reason he's always open. And if he's open, as he will be Sunday, then it will open up the game for Genty, and then it will open up the passing game.
I'm crossing my fingers. I have so little faith in the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, but hey, let's do this. You got a game. You got some things. Right. We got to have you back soon.
Anytime.
And we got to get Ray Chester on here for round 2.
I'll come on once a week, once a month, whatever you want me to do.
I
want to talk about this next time I come on. So
perfect. Tell people what that's about real quick, please.
So I invented a training ball for basketball, and it says on the back here, the perfect rotation balls. It says whether you're an elite athlete, a youth or an elite athlete, anywhere in between, the perfect rotation basketballs can help teach or improve your shot. And what happens is that it's weighted, so it's heavy, and it has finger placements for gripping, getting your fingers into the release action.
Yeah.
So the ball you come up straight up and then elbow in, because it's weighted. So now you can't chicken wing. So
you can get the perfect rotation.
You got to come straight up, and then you just flick it with the finger placement, the channels, the patented channels, and you get a perfect rotation on your shot. And over the course of time, through repetition, you'll gain strength on your shot. So what does that mean? Now I'll be able to stretch the floor. And because my fingertips are in the release process, now I'm getting a lot of backspin on my shot.
Yeah.
My fingers are stronger.
Is there a website for that?
PerfectRotation.com.
Hey, PerfectRotation.com. Check it out, folks. Right here, perfect rotation.com.
Yes, sir.
There it is. There's the URL, folks. Check out perfectrotation.com, and we'll perfectly rotate to Mitch. Once a Raider, always a Raider.
Boy, never a truer
Right.
statement.
Hey, you got
Oh
it,
my
man.
goodness.
Definitely.
Yes.
And thank you for doing this.
Oh,
And,
absolutely. It's my pleasure. When you said, "Can I come on?" When we set the date, I said, everything else that was on my calendar, I took it off. I'm like, I'm sitting down with Zinni. So whenever you want me to come back, if you want me to come back,
you're Mr. Raider, man. Hey, we're getting older. We have to cherish the men who are here, men and women. But we got to have you back.
I've got a lot of stories. Would love to tell you all about the flashback camps we did with Pete Carroll down at SC and how fun those were with Rod Martin and John Vella and some of the other former Raiders, man. But it's just I've had a lot of fun with the team and doing things, and not just at the Coliseum. We've had fun all over the place.
Hey, you don't have to move a muscle. I got you. Everybody, thank you. Thank you, Joe Webb and everybody else. Thank you all. It's been a blessed day. That ends this stream, but we'll be back for more. Subscribe to Zinni62 on YouTube and bookmark NFL News by Zinni62.com. That ends this broadcast.